Good morning, everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Foundation in Central Virginia to share a contemplative focus with you today. And that focus that I want to look at today is awakening our true nature, spirituality as the heart of humanity. Spirituality is not separate from daily life. It's what shapes our vision of ourselves and our world. In the next 15 minutes, we'll look at how spirituality influences human development and strengthens the foundation of society. So, where does all of creation come from? It comes from source consciousness, the equality consciousness that is pretending to be what it is not. And it's doing this from its own intention. It amplifies its own bliss in the process. Every time a human being experiences a breakthrough and their true nature, which is probably the most blissful experience a human being can possibly have, that is source consciousness fulfilling its primary intention through a form. And there's people having that experience a lot more than we can ever know, because there's a balance in humanity that is also controlled by the source of its creation, and that is equality consciousness. We call it equality consciousness. And so there's a process that consciousness goes through in order to create a physical reality. And that process is, first, it must create individuals, and each individual has to go through a process of becoming identified with their ego, because the ego is the instrument of this manifestation that we're all a part of, the human experience. And as it's densifying itself to come into a physical form, there's a lot of steps it has to take to get that far, that dense, because consciousness is not dense at all. It's hardly, in terms of physical space, physical space is just part of the illusion. So we come into existence and we go through a process we call the involutionary process, where you're becoming fully identified as a human being, and until all vestiges of the truth of who you are hidden. And then once you reach that point, then you shift into the evolutionary process, where you gradually become aware of your truth again. So it's just a cycle. Every human manifestation is part of that cycle. And these cycles take many, many lifetimes to go through, because in truth there is no time at all. We only experience time through our egos, which is all part of the illusion. So the physicality, the drama, the pain, the suffering, the joy, the celebration, all of it is just part of the illusion of the experience of humanity itself. Whereas spirituality, or as I would call it, consciousness, is the heart of humanity, because if it wasn't for that intention to fully be itself, we would not be here. This whole play would not be happening. So, as individuals, how much choice do we have in the experiences that we generate in our life? We think that we have done many things in our lifetime, but in truth, everything that happens in our life is part of that orchestration, and it's appropriate for every person to have the experience that they're having, because if it wasn't appropriate, they wouldn't be having that experience. That's what our teacher, Master Charles Cannon, told us once. He said, you know the truth is happening because whatever is happening is the expression that is supposed to be happening. Nothing happens in this world that's not supposed to happen. We think that a lot of things. We think that people killing each other and the negative things that we see people doing to each other is all part of something that shouldn't happen. We want to stop it, but have we ever stopped it? Huh? And we have notions of what is good and what is bad, and so forth and so on. The play of the polarities, and we favor one over the other. And that's what's supposed to happen. We don't want to experience pain. We don't want to experience suffering, and unless you're in an involutionary process creating suffering, we don't want suffering to happen to anybody because it makes us uncomfortable. We don't like it. And just because we don't like it doesn't mean that it shouldn't happen, because it is happening. And it's part of our journey to bring us closer and closer to the truth of who we are. Would you be prompted or let's say, influenced to search inside yourself if this world was perfect? In the golden ages of the yugas, which are long periods of time, where there is more positive, where the positive polarity is actually dominant, but still in the illusion, but it's dominant. It's very difficult for people to wake up to their own true nature and get back to the source that they are, because things are so good and there's not much motivation for looking for a truth. But at the heart of all of creation is spirituality, and spirituality is an expression of source consciousness. There is nothing else in existence but consciousness. It's just the pretense that we are so identified with. Because we're in a physical body, the physical world is our reality, and we live a life in that reality as an individual, separate from all other individuals. And therein lies the foundation of fear-based experience, because if there's billions of human beings and they're all separate from each other, that's quite a challenge to have any kind of peace or fulfillment when you look at it from that perspective. But all fulfillment comes from the journey of the journey. It comes through many lifetimes of small steps, getting deeper and deeper into the truth of who you are. And eventually you become fully aware, fully awakened. And at that point, who knows what happens. So, but you don't devolve. Consciousness does not go backwards. Consciousness is always moving its primary intention to fully be itself forward. And it's doing so at a pace that is appropriate for this creation. The world, the universes, etc., etc. And we have no idea how many possibilities are happening, and it doesn't really matter, because it's our experience that we need to be focused upon. As a meditator, when you close your eyes and you go into meditation, you experience a greater and greater balance. What you're experiencing is a balancing. And meditation is the primary balancing technique that human beings can utilize to go into and discover their true nature, and that's love. It's love, not the kind of love that's between two people who, when they're attracted to each other and everything is golden for a while. This is a love that is the very nature of existence itself. And it's so blissful and so wonderful, because there's no place for fear to exist in the truth of who we are. That's really where it's at. And that's why I say spirituality as the heart of humanity, because it is the heart of humanity. It's just the heart in a sense that we don't, as a whole, tap into and are not aware of, as you can tell from with our ability to communicate worldwide and see videos of what's going on worldwide. We see how much suffering there is going on, and there's a lot. It's reaching a real peak. And as any polarity reaches its peak, it reaches a certain point of intensity, and then it shifts back moving back towards a positive polarity. So it goes back and forth like that, but over many lifetimes, as I say, it doesn't happen in a second. So as from my experience, when I first woke up, I had no idea, no clue as to what was going to happen in my life. And all the things that did happen in my life happened because that was part of my journey. It influenced me in ways that I needed to be influenced in order to reach the state of being that I'm experiencing right now. And the state of being is the foundation of our own evolutionary journey. So as you increase that state deeper and deeper and more constant blissful experience where love is dominant in yourself, even if you're living in a dominantly negative, fear-based world. And my teacher was fully anchored in that, and you could tell from the energy that came through him and out of him that he was experiencing the ultimate state of being that a human being could have, or close to it anyway. So spirituality as the heart of humanity, it's just a truth that's subtle and it's not available in terms of understanding in an egocentric sense. It actually defies most of what we believe as egos, because the ego is just a temporary illusion that allows us to come into this world in a form to have the experience that we're having, and whatever experience we're having is appropriate for me and in you and all human beings, because it's bringing them to the truth of who they are, irregardless of what it may look like when you're looking through an egocentric perspective. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. So spirituality not only influences human development and strengthens the foundation of society, it is the driving force that's orchestrating it all. So you can sit back and relax, although I'm sure that maybe, but there's nothing that will happen in your life that's not supposed to happen. And that's why anytime you're experiencing fear, and I include myself in this too, it's where the illusion still has power in you. And it's telling you this is what you need to work with. So when you resist an experience because out of fear or out of dislike, you want to avoid, it's something that you need to include in your evolutionary process or involutionary process, whichever one you happen to be in. And if you're watching this video, you're probably in your evolutionary process, because if you're still trying to maximize your identification with ego, you are not going to have any interest in spirituality whatsoever. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, and I thank you for being here, and I will be back again next week with another sharing to share with you. Thank you for being here. I'll see you again next Monday.